Hey, what's up? This is Uncle Jay here. I could be talking to you about anything in the world, but today I'm going to be talking to you about UFC 135. Basically, I'm going to be giving my predictions on three of the fights that I'm interested in. But before I go into that, I want you to just look at the link below. Click on it and just check out a short film I made. It's called Battling Temptations, and it's basically an action comedy. So it's short, it's about 20 minutes long. You get to see me doing some martial arts moves. Yeah, so check that out. Yeah, anyway, let me get into it. So basically, I'm just going to be predicting three fights that I'm really interested in. I'm going to be watching the whole UFC 135, but these are the three fights that I'm interested in. So I'm going to give my prediction on that. First fight that I'm interested in, I'm going to give a prediction in, is basically Takanori Gomi versus Nate Diaz. Takanori Gomi has very good wrestling defense and has pretty good boxing. If I was to grade his boxing in terms of advanced, intermediate, and beginner, I would have to say slightly above intermediate, because he is quite dangerous, quite technical to a degree, but a big bulk of his striking skills lies within the realm of slugging it out, if you get my drift. That's why he was pretty exposed when he went up against Kenny Florian, because Kenny Florian is very, very technical in his striking, and you could basically see where Takanori Gomi's striking basically stood up against such technical striking as Kenny Florian's, and he's in that intermediate category. However, he does have a lot of power in his punches, so if he catches you, it's basically good night, and he proved that when he went up against Tyson Griffin. Nate Diaz has pretty good boxing. Again, he's in the intermediate, slightly above intermediate, but the big difference between him and Takanori Gomi is that Takanori Gomi is that he doesn't have as much power as Takanori Gomi. So he has very good striking, good striking. He's not that technical, and there's an element of him wanting to slug it out, but he doesn't have the power of Gomi. So if he does get into an exchange with Gomi, it's not advisable, because if Gomi catches him, he's going to sleep. But if he catches Gomi, might still be standing. However, Nate Diaz has the edge when it comes to the ground game. His jiu-jitsu, especially his guard, is very, very, very dangerous. Overall, I'm gonna have to give this to Gomi, simply because for Nate Diaz's ground game to take effect, he actually has to get Gomi to the ground, and Nate Diaz doesn't have good wrestling, and on top of that, Gomi has excellent takedown defense. So basically, it's gonna mean the fight is gonna be standing, and I give Gomi the edge in the stand-up department. So my prediction is Gomi is gonna win by TKO, either in the second or early third round. So that's my prediction for that fight. Next fight is Matt Hughes versus Josh Koscheck. Last time we saw Josh Koscheck was against George St. Pierre, who basically nearly jabbed his eye off. Josh has very good wrestling, very good offensive wrestling and defensive wrestling. His striking, however, is, again, if I was to categorize it, it would probably be just about intermediate. He doesn't really throw that many straight punches. He does swing. He likes to swing his overhead punch, which is what he usually uses to knock out people. He does throw random strikes here and there, the other head kick and all that kind, but he's not really a set striker, where he's not really technical. Matt Hughes, very strong fighter, very good wrestler. He's striking, again, intermediate, and he's in the twilight of his career. A lot of people like to judge him on the BJ Penn fight, but I think that BJ Penn fight, not to take anything away from BJ Penn, obviously he's a good striker and he's a good boxer, but I just think it was a bad day for Matt Hughes. I don't think the fight represents where Matt Hughes is actually. I just literally think that was just a bad night for him, and he got caught. Even though Josh is the younger fighter, he has a lot more. He has enough power to knock Matt Hughes out with one punch. But I think Matt Hughes is a more intelligent fighter, and even though he's in the twilight of his careers, I think he's just a lot more intelligent than Josh Koscheck is. Josh Koscheck is a bit of a wild animal, but I think Matt Hughes can tame him. I believe Matt Hughes is going to beat Josh Koscheck, and it's going to be by decision. Now to the main event: Jon Jones versus Quentin Rampage Jackson. Rampage Jackson has excellent wrestling defense. He's actually a good wrestler if he actually decided to wrestle, but we haven't seen him slam or use his wrestling offensively for a long while, like a really long while. And we're talking like 7-8 years now. The Rampage Jackson of recent years relies solely on his boxing, and his boxing is quite rigid. He could knock anyone out, including heavyweights. But it's quite rigid. He's not a fluid striker, if you will. He's not the kind of person that can attack and defend simultaneously. Like a Mayweather. I know it's a bit unfair to compare him to Mayweather, but you know what I mean. But then again, having said that, he kind of did look pretty good against Lyoto Machida. And Lyoto Machida is a very, very fluid striker. Extremely fluid striker. So he did look quite good. But, for me, I'm one of those people that I felt Lyoto won that fight. But he did look pretty good in terms of his striking, in terms of, keeping up with Lyoto. Jon Jones, on the other hand, is an extremely dynamic fighter. In terms of striking, in terms of wrestling, and in terms of jiu-jitsu. And I'm not really bothered about whether he does spinning elbows or all that malarkey. Just the way he composes himself, the way he sets up his strikes. He does it very intelligently in terms of his fists and his legs. His wrestling is, Greco-Roman, so it's very, very offensive. And he's not just like a double leg. You have people that they call wrestlers in MMA, but all they do is go for the double leg or the single leg. No, Jon Jones can take you down from grabbing your arms, your head, anywhere. And his jiu-jitsu skills is pretty. It's not fantastic, but it's good enough for you to worry about. But the thing about it is, this fight has that surprise element on it, in the sense that, I'm gonna flat out say that I feel Jon Jones should win this pretty easily. Having said that, I feel like there's potential for Rampage to just surprise us, like he did against Matt Hamill. Because even though, yes, I didn't expect Matt Hamill to beat Rampage, but I didn't expect Rampage to beat Matt Hamill so easily. And even though I thought Lyoto Machida beat Rampage, I didn't expect Rampage to give Lyoto that much problems. Having said that, I still feel Jon Jones is going to win. I don't think he's going to knock Rampage out, but I do think he's going to beat him via a 5-round decision. But however, even though he doesn't knock out Rampage, I do think he will dominate Rampage. Having said that, if Rampage should surprise me, I've left room for that, if you will. And those are my predictions. As usual, before I leave, I'm going to leave a scripture with you. And the scripture I'm going to leave this time around is going to be Luke 15, verse 7. And it just touches on the fact that, what I got from that scripture is basically the fact that whether you believe in God or not, He's rooting for you. And all you literally have to do is just to let Him in, and He will help you with your life in all areas. Anyway, like I said, check out my film. The link is below. Subscribe, leave your comments. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with my predictions, or whether you talk to me about or leave comments about other fights that I've not mentioned. Anyway, take care. God bless, and keep watching.